I like subconsciously told myself, one day I'm going to figure out what my thing is. And once I do, everybody better watch the out because I am going to go so hard. I don't know what it's going to be. Once I figure out what I want and what I'm great at, I will never, ever, ever let it go.
Joining us right now is real estate broker Ryan Serhant.
Owning Manhattan star Ryan Serhant.
Are you ready to meet Ryan?
The legendary Ryan Serhant.
What about people who want to invest in real estate in 2025?
I think that what we'll see in 2025 is
Really?
And I realized in that moment that I'd spent the last 20 years waking up every day to feel important instead of waking up every day to feel happy. People are no longer afraid of being failures. They're afraid of being embarrassed.
Yes.
So they won't try because they care about failing. They then don't try because they don't want other people to know it didn't work out.
What other habits do billionaires have that have helped you level up your life and your business just by being around them? Ryan Serhant is here on the School of Greatness. Very excited about being with you because you have continued the way I think I started finding you back in 2008, kind of when I started. I think you were on $1 Million Listing back in 2010, 11, 12. When was that? When did you first start?
I auditioned in 2010. The show came out in 2012.
Yeah. So we kind of came up in the online marketing space doing different things around the same time. And I watched your journey. And for me, it's really inspiring to see how consistently you've been in showing up for yourself and risking new ideas, trying new things and failing, and trying new things and succeeding. And I don't think people understand the level of commitment you have to your vision and your mission.
Yeah.
We're not best friends or anything, but I see it from afar. I see the actions you take. I see the way you connect with your team. I see how you do content and how you keep innovating and trying stuff. And trying stuff that doesn't always work. Like I see you trying stuff, I'm like, man, he's taking a risk there. I like that. And it didn't really do that well, but he tried it. You know, it's like, but I'm like, not many people are willing to try stuff that doesn't work and be okay with it.
Yeah.
And you're just like, all right, that piece of content got 1,000 views as opposed to 1 million, but we tried something new. We risked it to see.
Yeah.
And the way you keep showing up is really inspiring and how you've, and I don't think people see behind the scenes enough. You show behind the scenes, but I don't think they really see behind the scenes enough. Not that they need to see it, but how you think constantly of, we need to think bigger. We need to try different. We need to hire different, all these different things. For me, it's really inspiring because you keep getting big wins every, 2 to 3 years. You come out with a book. Sometimes it does really well or not. TV show, boom, it crushes. You tried the software, you tried the app, you tried these things. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But the fact that you keep showing up consistently.
I think you can have a lot of income streams. You can do a lot of different things, but it's very difficult to have multi-level passions. Like you can have a career, a couple jobs, a couple hobbies, but everyone always has like their passion. Maybe your passion is really your kids. Maybe it's really your spouse. Maybe it's really that sport. And I think you got to figure out what are your multi-level businesses that align with like that singular passion. And so that was a realization for me before I started all the companies. Because I felt like you did. I felt like, okay, I'm doing this, I'm speaking here, I'm selling real estate, then I'm on this TV show, and then I'm doing, and then I'm over here, and what am I doing? And I was passionate about the work until I took a step back and realized, okay, wait, am I really passionate about the work? Am I passionate about the results? And if I'm passionate about sales as an unlock for human potential in the 20s and 30s and the future to control your own income, to control your own life, then I got to be also passionate about retention, and I have to be passionate about finding my tree branches. So if I'm the oak tree and I get to have all these rings, then I need to have tree branches, which are people who, if they were physically fucking attached to me, it would be fine. Like so great that they could be a part of my tree. And I had done the opposite. I was trying to find people that were like so different from me, people who could take me to here and take me to there because that's what everyone had always told me, right? Like, don't hire your identical twin, go hire someone who's going to take you to the next level. And then it was like mixing, it's like apples and oranges. It's like, you're both fruit, but I don't know if I'm in the mood for an orange right now. I don't really want to peel and like this stringy, like I want an apple, right? It's it just doesn't work. So it was finding the passion for me and then being really, really, really focused on retention and creating those branches that allow the oak tree to grow.
you
Otherwise,
mean-
I'm just losing my mind.
And when you mean retention, you mean of like the people on your team?
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying if you were, because I remember hearing that also, it's like you want to find someone who doesn't necessarily like, isn't similar to you, but someone who thinks differently than you. Like if you're a creative, you need an analytical person to like help you run things or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Are you saying more you need someone like an identical twin to you, as opposed to if you're an apple tree, you need someone that's an apple on your branch, not an orange on your branch?
Sure. So the way, I guess if I like alliteration. So like that passion as a core, okay? So your passion is podcasting versus courses, let's say. So that passion for me is sales. It just is what it is. Like I wish it was coding. I wish it was chemistry. Like it could have been anything else, but it is sales. So my passion is sales. And then how do I build a company using the other P's, right? You got to start with purpose. So what's your purpose? And then it's people, product, profit. And that is the math. And like that is the unlock. And I was going from, okay, I'm passionate about everything. Let's just make money. Let's just work. And I want to go build this. And then I need the right people to help me build it. And so then I had no core passion. I didn't really know exactly what we were building, but I knew I had to go find people for it. And then that can last like a year and then it just breaks you, or people start splintering. You start getting people who are quitting or leaving you. And you've got to find that real kind of like cultural kind of statement, I guess, if you will, where everyone understands, we're all here for the same purpose. And because we're all here from the same purpose, we're all the right people aligned on that right purpose. And then all the right people together, we can build whatever the product we want. Because we can now go into, for me, right, real estate brokerage, sales training, enterprise, right? We can do media, we can do TV shows, we can do whatever we want. And then that all leads down to profits, right? So that we can keep the businesses going.
But how do you know what product you love the most? Because you want to have a passion for sales.
Yeah.
But how do you know which product within real estate, why real estate, and which product? Now you have software, you have books, you have courses, you have like speaking about real estate, you have everything. How do you know which product to choose when you're starting, but also now when you're scaling?
I think you have to make mistakes and give yourself a lot of room to make those mistakes. I think people are no longer afraid of being failures. They're afraid of being embarrassed.
Yes.
So they won't try because they care about failing. They then don't try because they don't want other people to know it didn't work out. And so, as a good example, we started Serhant in 2020, okay? In the depths of COVID in New York
Bought
City.
the building.
Everybody said, don't do it, right? So I said, I'm going to go start my own real estate firm, but I have an idea. I have an idea of how things are going to be bought and sold in the future. I'm not going to be able to do it by myself. It's going to take me a second. I'm going to start a sales training platform called sellit.com, and then we're going to have studios, which does real estate media, because it's just what we do and it's what we know. And there's going to be an undercurrent of tech enablement, okay, underneath everything. And I think it's going to be one thing. And so what I started with was an app called Spaces that was basically studios in your pocket, so that I could go to 10,000 real estate agents around the world and say, you get to go make your own property tours now, really easy. It'll edit itself, it'll queue itself, it'll caption itself. One click, you're done. You don't have to spend the $1,500 that it's going to cost you to do a mini, all that stuff. I was the only one who used it.
Wow.
Like, I spent all this money and I listened because it was me saying, I know what you need. Okay. So that didn't work.
Why didn't people need it?
Because they didn't want it. So instead of me saying, hey, I know what you need, what I should have said is,
What do you want?
Yeah. Right? But it's tricky because if I ask most people what they want, they don't know what they want until you show it to them. So then I made a virtual world, because then I was like, you know what? Screw it. People will make property tours however they want. How do I scale virtual culture? You know, if we have a company of 1,000 people, 100,000 people, and we don't have brick and mortar offices, it's not like they're in warehouses. All of our people either work at home or they're in their cars, right? They're in other people's properties. How do I scale culture that way? How do I align us back to the passion and the purpose? Like, how do I do that? Through webinars? Like, what do I do? You know what? I'm going to build a virtual world. It's going to be called Serhant Universe. And we're all just going to operate in there. Everyone's got multiple screens now. The majority of our salespeople, you know, coming out of high school, they're all on screens all day long. They got Fortnite on pause at home while they're at school. Like, everyone's there. They all have avatars. And I got really excited about the idea of, because I'd never seen a salesperson in a wheelchair. I'd never seen a salesperson who was a military amputee, right? And so we do a lot with vets. And I was like, that could be amazing, because now you don't have, doesn't matter what you look like, how you walk, if you can walk, you can now be in sales just like anybody else, anyone who's able-bodied, and we're going to do it in this virtual world. And I'm the only one who uses it. Like, unbelievable. And I spent all this money. I was like, God, guys, come on. It's this whole thing. And everyone's like, dude, the last thing I want to do is look at another screen. And that's really what it came down to. So I made both of those mistakes.
Wow. How much time did that take?
It was a year apiece.
How much money?
A lot. You know, Spaces was a couple $100,000. Universe was way more.
And it's shut down now.
No, it's still there. Just no one uses it because there's no utility. And so when you asked me initially before I started rambling, like how do you determine what product to build? Like, the answer for me is I don't, right? It's what product does the customer need?
And they don't know.
And so the answers from all of our customers basically brought us to the, I guess you call it a software that we just put out called Simple, that I started beta testing in January. But I had taken the people that helped me build Spaces and the people who helped me build Universe, and I was like, guys, I have another idea. And they're like, oh, dude, if you're going to pay us, whatever, man.
Yeah, we'll do it.
You know what? This whole company is just, Ryan, just make it up. And so I was like, no. Let's figure out how do we make a screenless company? How do we be screenless? How do we be buttonless? Like, the answer is always to add more screens or add more buttons. And I'd seen all these other companies and they were like, oh, AI now, and here's a chat bot and this, that. And then it's just annoying and no one wants to do it. And the response from all of our customers was, we don't want to do more things. We actually want to do less things.
We don't want to download more apps and games and programs. Yeah.
Exactly. And then I had this light bulb moment of, so maybe it isn't about having an underlying element of tech enablement. Maybe it's about empowerment using machine learning and everything else we have at our fingertips now. And so we created Simple, which replaces work. It does work for salespeople. It's a niche, right? It's in the sales world. So for real estate agents in the United States for now, it does their work for them. It's like Instacart, but for work. Wow. So all the administrative work gets to go away and it replaces boring work.
That's nice.
Everybody uses it.
That's exciting.
Like, everybody. Like the usage rate, it's like 97%.
Wow.
So instead of just Ryan, then it's 97%. We're like, oh, okay. So now we'll go hard into Simple. And that people, purpose, people, product now, right? Then
now you
leads
figured
to
out the product
profits.
that works. Yeah.
You have to stumble, you have to make mistakes, you have to have good people around you who are also willing to tell you no. Like, as part of our interview process too, I'm very, very focused on trying to find people who aren't mean, but who are not afraid to say no. Yeah. Because you surround yourself with yes people because you pay their bills, and you will go bankrupt because they will yes you to their next job. And you got to surround yourself with people that are so passionate that they are willing to make you angry and make you upset. And I definitely have those people now.
Wow, really?
Yeah. It's not as comfortable as it used to be, but the business is so much better for it.
Wow.
Because I am not always right. In fact, most of the times I'm wrong, but I really want to understand how we get to the why. And so I've been able to scale now by surrounding myself with leaders who are 100% comfortable with saying no to themselves, to other people, to me. And we just count the no's till we get to the yes. And it makes for a massive business.
Wow. One thing I want to ask you about, I want to talk about kind of the $1 billion mindset that you have and how you've built that and developed it, how people can build a $1 million or $1 billion mindset for themselves. I want to talk about real estate a little bit, investing in real estate today. You had a prediction at the beginning of 2024, 5 bold predictions of this year. I'm not sure if you remember this. I'm going to share some of the quotes that you had from this.
Predictions.
Yeah. I know. I'm going to share some of the stuff you said from this. It was an article in February called 5 Bold Predictions for the Real Estate Game in 2024. I'm curious if any of those things have come true.
Oh, God.
And also your predictions for 2025. Okay. But first, before I dive into that stuff, I want to ask you, how is your heart?
So I went to the cardiologist yesterday. I know that's not your question, but it's funny you asked me that because I did go to the cardiologist yesterday.
It's all connected.
Got an EKG, did it. I turned 40 this summer. It was just want to make sure I'm good. And the guy was like, you're good. I'm like, you sure? Are you sure?
Why did you ask that? Why did you ask, are you sure?
I do that annual Ezra scan, so the annual body MRI, because I've known too many people now in their early 40s who are like,
stroke,
my back
or
hurts,
this, yeah.
and then they have cancer and die. And I have too much going on to die. So I will do a preventative medicine plan instead of a reactive medicine plan,
smart.
right? The same reason, I work out and I eat well. It's not for me today. Actually, it is the opposite for me today. The last thing I want to do is wake up at 4:30 and go work out. That is awful. I do it so that Ryan at 70 can look back and say, dude, thanks, man. Because if you hadn't, imagine where I would be today. Right? So I'm always thinking about future me because I work for that person. But so I got an annual Ezra scan and it came back with hey, plaque in arteries, because I'm 40 now.
Wow.
And so went to the doctor and they came back and there was the calcium score was 53 of 400. So on the low side, but not 0. So then I go to a cardiologist and they're like, yeah, you're fine. It's fine. You're fine. I'm like, do I need an ultrasound? Do you have to open my chest?
No way.
I have a lot of responsibilities right now. My heart's got to be okay. And they're like, you're
fine.
You're going to be okay.
Wow. But how do you feel emotionally?
Emotionally, I think I don't take nearly enough time to do self-checks. I spend all of my time thinking about everybody else between our clients, our customers, our producers, our agents, our employees, that by the end of the day, I'm so mentally exhausted worrying about everybody else who I feel responsible for, that I'm as long as I'm eating, breathing, and I can scroll on TikTok before bed, I'm good, man.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm good. I do, although I will tell you, man, I think something did happen to me this summer. Every age I've ever turned, nothing changes. But then when I turn 40,
it's a different unlock.
Yeah, it's not that I felt old. It's that I thought, okay, the next time I do this, I'm 80. So remind me again, Ryan, why I wake up every day. What am I doing all this for? Why am I flying to this place and that place? And why am I so anxious about answering emails and cleaning things out? Why am I what is wrong with me? And I realized in that moment in July that I'd spent the last 20 years waking up every day to feel important instead of waking up every day to feel happy. And
wow.
I attached importance to happiness. The more important I am, whether I'm being, we were nominated for 2 Emmys for a reality TV show. I was able to build, a $1 billion business just by selling real estate, a career that used to be a third career for most people, right? I'd expanded, I'd built from the ground up, and the importance of it all, I thought made me happy. And then I was sitting there and saying to myself, but wait, what really makes me happy? Is it my daughter? Is it my wife? Is it family time? Is it the work?
What is it?
Is it the work? I mean, all of them make me happy, right? In various ways. My superpower is my capacity. You say consistency. I really think about capacity. And I do get very, very excited about the building and about the work. I do like work. I wouldn't be at the office all the time. I wouldn't be working all the time if I didn't really like it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have to. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I do get passionate about the work and about building and about creating more tomorrow than I did today. But I don't know why. It's totally a disease. I have friends who check out at 5 o'clock. They drink beer. They go to baseball games.
Yeah.
They
coach their kids. They hang out.
I'm I want that. I don't hate it at all. I literally stare at people who do that, and who have those lives, and I'm how do I have that? I don't have that. It's not in my DNA. I wish it was.
On a scale.
You see a dog,
It's just happy.
Dude.
Just playing.
And the dog is everything in my life is everything I've ever known, and I'm good.
Yeah.
The dog just doesn't know. And I'm like, I'm not comparing people to dogs, but it's like, man, why do I need to do the things that I do?
On a scale of 1 to 10,
Yeah.
how important do you feel right now? 10 being like, I'm extremely important in my life.
I reset the level of importance with every like growth hurdle. So in 2019, before we started our company, in the world of real estate salespeople, I was a 10. And where do you go from there? You don't like rebuild a chart. That's stupid. So I took myself down to a 1 and said, now I'm going to go be a CEO, because I did it. I did the real estate brokerage thing. I sold the most expensive properties. I did them in all the markets.
You're on TV. You did,
So I'm going to go do it again. I'm going to leave Million Dollar Listing New York, this reality TV show that gave me a career. I have education. I'm going to go try to build my own company. And if it works, great. If it doesn't work, I guess I go back to doing what I was doing anyway. What's the worst that can happen? Unless you die or go to jail, like those are the 2 worst things that can happen. Anything else, you're just not taking the right swing.
Yeah.
So
that was 5 years ago.
Yeah, with 2019, I made that decision. So then in 2020, September 2020, we went off on our own and we started our own thing with a couple of us in like a rented townhouse in the city with SWAT outside and windows boarded up and masks and no vaccine, the whole 9 yards. We're like, as long as we just go hard every day and we take it one day at a time, it's all going to work. If I think too much about all the things, it'll never work because I'll have analysis paralysis and I'll let perfect become the enemy of good. I just need to be as good as possible so I can get to great, and I can go from good to great.
Yeah. Wow. So how do you feel then on the scale of importance right now?
So then in 2020, I was a 1.
Yeah.
I guess I'm feeling.
I mean, you had the number 1 show on Netflix.
It wasn't number 1. I feel like I feel like a 4 right now.
A 4 out of 10 in importance.
Of importance for what I'm trying to do as a CEO.
What would a 10 look like for you of importance?
I think if I've been able to build from scratch the new definition of real estate brokerage, okay, on a global scale, which is really what we're doing, plus really use simple to redefine sales workflow automations for all salespeople, not just real estate agents. Then I'll come back and do this podcast and say 10. It's going to take me a minute though.
Wow. What do you think on a scale of 1 to 10 of importance you are for your daughter?
Solid 8. Yeah, I think Bluey's 9. I think Toy Story right now is a phase. I think that's a hard 10.
Wow.
The bunny, her mom, right?
Yeah.
My wife is definitely up there
You're
with a
an
10. Yeah. My mother-in-law lives with us. My sister-in-law lives with us. Her husband lives with us. We have one big Greek household, and then there's me. I just
That's amazing.
Yeah, I come home and I'm like, how's everyone doing? Everyone doing good?
That's fun, man.
I'm there though. I'm like the guy, I'm the dad.
That's
doing
good,
my
man.
dad thing.
And so you talked about, your whole life you were trying to be important. Do you feel happy?
I feel happier today than I definitely did for a good period of time.
Scale of 1 to 10, happiness, where are you? 10 is like the ultimate level of joy every day.
I think very rarely do I feel a 10, and I almost do it on purpose. Because if I say 10 all the time, it's like we rate meetings. People rate meetings at 9s or 10s. I'm
like, that was not a perfect
you
meeting.
don't understand what a meeting, that's insane.
Yeah.
This was a 7, right? Yeah. We always have to grow somehow, but I also don't want to be like some stubborn asshole. I don't know. On a scale of happiness today, I think I'm like a solid 6.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's good things, there's bad things, but that's every decision you make. Like every day you wake up, there's going to be good and bad.
Yeah.
As long as you're moving forward.
Sure.
Every pivot you're going to have is going to have positive and negative. And something I also realized was I used to think things that were in my way were obstacles. And then I realized that, no, wait, what stands in the way becomes the way. And it's no longer an obstacle, right? It's just a big question mark. I just have to figure out how to answer that question. And then there's this amazing path ahead of me that used to be in the way, and now it just is the way. And that's been helpful. Like Netflix, right? Like Netflix for me when I was on Bravo was, and then Selling Sunset came out, and
How did that make you feel when all these big real estate shows were on Netflix and you weren't on there yet?
Plus and minus, like it was still streaming. I don't know. But there's a new generation of people who watch TV now. And their numbers are wild. Like Netflix is the largest global distribution network on planet Earth. Forget media. Like Netflix can put one thing out and 270 million people are alerted. Like you can't, it just doesn't, it's wild to think about. And so, I was doing Bravo, and there's all these new things happening, and real estate shows everywhere, and ours was great. I'm like, oh, there's this thing that's kind of like in the way from me being successful at what I'm doing right now. So I can either hunker down and just tell myself what we're doing is the best, I'm going to stay doing this thing, or maybe what stands in the way becomes the way. You know what? Start own company. $1 Million Listing's been awesome, but it doesn't make sense for me now that I have my own company. So let's sunset. Oh, we did that in 2021 and it went off air in 2022.
Wow.
We did all spin-off shows, all that. Now I'm going to go pitch streamers with a new idea.
Really?
Yeah. And
was it challenging at first?
It was challenging because the market's so saturated, even for me. Like it's just saturated, man. There's so much stuff, and you also have to make the determination. Like you could have a great YouTube show and more people could watch it.
I
Like
know.
you don't have to do.
You have to wait 6 months to a year for it to come out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we created I created a format called House of Serhant. So you've seen our clubhouse in Soho. So we have clubhouses everywhere instead of offices. They're fun. They're content houses. There's no desks. Okay. So we called it House of Serhant, and it was about kind of the building of a company in New York. And then we started pitching it. Took it to HBO, Peacock, Amazon Prime, Hulu, Netflix, something else I can't remember, and went through. And it was interesting. It obviously worked. And so we went with Netflix. Because they're just great partners and have the biggest network.
Distribution, yeah.
And so, we ended up going with them, and then we changed the title to Owning Manhattan because apparently in like Sri Lanka, no one knows what a Serhant is. And so like it's about the thumbnail, even for them, it's the thumbnail and the title. And so Owning Manhattan, people would understand. And then it took 2 years, man. That was 2022.
Really?
2022.
Of filming or producing?
2022. It was 1 full year of producing, pre-production, casting, the pitching, all that stuff.
Before you started filming?
Oh, yeah, man. 1 year, and then a whole year of filming, 2023.
So much
Film,
work.
It's so much work. You have
It
a
may not work.
90% chance that no one watches it.
It may not work.
Especially on streaming.
Oh, my
Because
gosh.
when I did a show that people didn't watch called Sell It Like Serhant. Okay. People watched it, just not as many as like $1 Million Listing. So Sell It Like Serhant was a passion project of mine. But even though it wasn't like a ratings juggernaut, it spawned the book. It spawned the education business. It spawned a speaking tour, all these things that still exist today and are huge parts of our business, but it was cable. And so no matter what, for like 12 weeks, Sell It Like Serhant is in your TV guide. It's there. There are commercials for 3 months, no matter what. And then reruns and everything. Streaming, you get 48 hours for the algorithm to decide, do viewers agree with this content or are we going to drop it? And they will drop it fast because the minute you click on something that everybody else has said meh to, you might then go to Hulu. You might look at your phone. So how do you keep people from looking at their phone?
Wow.
Right? You have to give them hooks and cliffhangers. It's no longer arcs and storylines. It's hooks and cliffhangers, hooks and cliffhangers. It's bite-sized content in long-form media. And so then it was a year of filming with Netflix, and then the show came out in June. And worked, thank God.
So it's been a few months since it came out. What was the response like for you? What did you see, whether it be online, in the streets, in your business, with having a massive Netflix hit?
Oh, I mean, my life changed like overnight, man.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. Like before Netflix, I used to tell people I had my life, then $1 Million Listing happened. Like that was always in all these talks and podcasts, I'd say, yeah, and then $1 Million Listing happened. And then things changed, right? I was able to, not just that people recognize me, but they would know me as the real estate guy. And that was helpful for business. I sell real estate, I don't sell toasters. And so it would also help me open doors. We always say like opportunity knocks on both sides. And so you got to go knock and then the door would open. And now I say until Netflix happened. Like
Really?
It has been wild. Like I've never seen between like follower and subscriber growth. It was like 1.3 million like that month. And just organic.
1.3 million new subscribers?
Yeah, that
on
month.
what, like Instagram or YouTube or everywhere?
Yeah, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere.
Just all grew.
Just because the whole world was just told about a new world, and so it's translated into every language. It's insane. There are people outside my office right now. I mean, they're all day long, all night. It's insane.
Just wanted to get a glimpse of what's happening, or
yeah, they come to the building, they wait for me, they take photos with me, they wait outside my house, they're everywhere. So far, I mean, knock on wood, but so far everyone's been super nice.
Yeah.
And just very, very very excited. It's been wild for business, wild for recruitment.
Really?
Yeah, man.
it's changed your life.
Yeah, completely.
But you already had a massive business.
I
You
know,
already
it's
had a
weird.
big social media
I know.
following. You've got 15-year track record of success. You've been on TV for years.
Yeah,
But this changed it even more in the
Yes.
last few months.
yeah,
Really?
yeah. I can't even.
So it's worth the 2 years of waiting and filming and pre-production. Like, was it worth that wait, I guess?
Yeah, you are only as good as your last deal.
Yeah.
That's what I tell salespeople. You're only as good as your 1099, and you're only as good as your last deal. I don't care what you're working on right now. You're only as good as the last deal you did. So if I did a TV show, that's amazing. It was great. What did you do with it? How did you make it work for you? Because you're only as good as that show that used to be on the air.
Yeah, 5-7 years ago or something.
Yeah. So, you have to be constantly moving and constantly iterating. And it's also exhausting. But for me, it's also fun to like think about new things. And on the new show, I'm an executive producer. I have a significant amount of control compared to $1 Million Listing, where I was just talent. And
Even on season 1, you were an executive producer?
I was a producer on season 1, but they can't do the show without me. It's about me.
Right. So you're creative
Season
control.
2, we just started filming season 2. We got picked up for season 2. We just started, and it's
Congrats.
so far.
I saw you announced that. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
it's and so I'm an executive producer now, and every day I show up, I'm like, hey, EP Energy. yeah. So this is what we're gonna do, okay? But we get to have like Netflix allows us to have fun, like cable TV. You turn on ESPN, you know what you're going to get. You don't know if it's going to be SportsCenter or something else. You know what it's going to look like, and they're going to be talking about sports. Okay? Netflix, you turn it on, and you actually are looking for something you haven't seen before. Maybe you have like an itch because you like true crime
or documentaries.
exactly.
Yeah.
But you're not going to watch something you've seen before. Right. That's actually one of the problems. Is like, I kind of saw that movie already.
They need new
different
content.
people.
Yeah.
So how do you scratch that itch of newness? So Netflix is super open to like if anyone's watched Owning Manhattan, it is not a normal reality TV show. It is like a docu-series taking place in a workplace with real estate as kind of the skeleton, with a narrator. Like I narrate the show as a real estate show with voiceover.
So cool.
And there's, a lot of the reviews when they came out were like, this is awesome because I didn't know that I wanted to watch this. And so you asked me about feedback. Like we did $1 Million Listing for 10 years, 2 Emmy nominations. I did 4 spin-off shows.
Crazy, man.
Right?
So much
I'd never
work.
I'd never been in Vogue. I'd never been in Time magazine. Like the level of I think awareness that Netflix brought to our business. It is a content to community to commerce engine.
Wow.
And then it just fuels everything else. And for our agents, they're excited about it. It's actually been more beneficial for our company outside of Manhattan.
Really?
Because in Manhattan, it's like a given.
You
And
already know, everyone knows you guys.
and no one cares.
Yeah.
North Carolina, South Carolina, so that they can have a piece of what we're working on is really, really, really exciting. The owners there, the buyers there, the sellers there. And we have a wait list for agents to join our company in every single state, right? And in 45 countries at this point. So it's just bandwidth. It's just like bandwidth
man.
and quality, because it would kill us. We would die. But hopefully it was simple. We'll be able to do it much simpler.
It's pretty amazing because as I just hear you talk about your experiences and everything you've done, you said 10 seasons with $1 Million Listing. Is that what you said? 4 spinoff shows. I know when you first came to New York, you were, trying to become an actor.
Yeah.
I can't remember, was it hand model or
I
you're
was
an actor?
hand modeling.
Hand model
yes,
acting.
Yes. Hand model acting.
And it's almost like the last 15 plus years, like all the things that didn't work out or did work out, they've all come together in this culmination with Netflix where they need you so much to be an executive producer because of the knowledge you have from 10, 14 shows you've done already.
Yeah.
Like in reality TV with social media, blending it together. You can't find a TV executive that has the wisdom that you have.
Yeah.
In terms of like how to do this.
You're
As a
right.
creative, telling the hooks, understanding short form, long form. It's pretty fascinating that they got you. And it's amazing that it worked out. I'm so happy for you, man. You deserve it. So I'm glad they picked it up for season 2.
great. Yeah.
You're great. I want to ask you a little bit about real estate, but this has been fascinating. Before I dive into the real estate stuff, I'm sure you've already analyzed yourself. I'm guessing you've already analyzed yourself psychologically from your childhood about the need for importance. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming you have, or you've reflected back, or you and your wife have maybe been like, okay, what makes you so driven? Why are you so driven to like excel and achieve constantly and needing more and more and more? Was there a feeling or an energy when you were younger where you just didn't feel important, or you didn't feel seen, or you didn't feel accepted? Because that's something I felt most of my childhood. But was there like a defining moments for you where you felt like, I'm not important, I want to be important?
So I come from a big family, right? So we had 3 sisters, 2 brothers, and I think
You the youngest?
second youngest. I think I spent a long time trying to figure out what my thing was. And I think most people do. Like, I don't know, what should I do? There's optionality now. It's not the way it used to be. We're so thankful that it's not 1950 anymore. But at the same time, 1950 was simpler. Like you had your options.
You know what you're going to do.
You know what you're going to do, for the most part. Today, there's just mass optionality and it's scary. It's like going to a restaurant with a 50-page menu. Like I came for steak, but now I don't know. I don't know. What should I do? Should I do this? Oh, you have a Mediterranean menu. What do I do? Should I travel? I don't know. And so I tried every single sport. I took every class. I was as well-rounded as you could imagine because I just didn't know. And I wasn't great at anything. Like there wasn't one thing I was like great at. Even acting, I think I was good. I think it was good.
You had good hands,
I had good hands. Yeah. I was good, but I wasn't great. And I think that I like subconsciously told myself, one day I'm going to figure out what my thing is. And once I do, everybody better watch the f*** out because I am going to go so hard. I don't know what it's going to be. I might be a garbage man. I might be an artist. I might be a poet. I don't know. But once I figure it out, I spent my whole life trying to figure out what I want. Once I figure out what I want and what I'm great at, I will never, ever, ever let it go. So to the consistency and to the capacity, the minute I, as an accident, got my real estate license because I needed to pay my rent. I didn't want to bartend or wait tables or do any of that. I got my license. Lehman Brothers files for bankruptcy. The whole real estate world files out.
2008, right?
2008. I didn't have a job. I didn't have any money. So I was like, I guess this is just hard. And so once it clicked and I just started doing it, it's like, I'm going to do this every day. It's just volume for me. I'm not going to take this personally. I tried acting. Acting is personal. You get rejected to your face because of your face.
Wow.
So I am going to just go hard all day, every day. I'm not going to be the most connected. I'm not going to be the best looking, but something no one can take away from me is how hard I'm going to work. I'm going to wake up earlier. I'm going to go to bed later.
Yeah.
And I don't care what anyone else says, modern day gurus, about how the grind is dead, doesn't matter. That's great when you have money. When you're rich, you can talk all day long about work-life balance. When you are trying to figure out how you're going to pay rent and pay your groceries, your work-life balance, you have to just grind. And you got to take it one day at a time and know you're working harder today than you did yesterday. And that hard work, what ends up happening is you work so hard, you make luck easy to find. Right? And so then lucky things start to happen. You get that first big deal that pays your rent for a year. And I remember depositing that check for like 24 grand.
Crazy feeling, right?
Yeah, at the Chase Bank in Tribeca. And then I was like, great, what's the next one? And then you do that next big one. And
How do I get 2 years ahead, 4 years ahead?
Yeah, and then you go to the open casting call for $1 Million Listing New York, and then that happens. I'm like, all right, I'm going to keep working even harder because the harder I work, I make luck even easier to find me. And then you just start building and building and building. And it's that never letting go thing. Like, I said, Sell It Like Serhant as a TV show we did for Bravo in 2016, 17. That was my, I want to say 30th. It might've been more pitch to Bravo.
Wow.
And I think they agreed to it because they were sick of me. I think they were like, guys, if we don't at least give Ryan one thing, he's going to pitch us on the next Real Estate Doctor, the next Apprentice, but for real estate show. And I had all of them. I pitched all of them. They didn't accept any of them, rightly so. I will just never give up. And I will come to you until you buy or you die. Across the board.
Buy or die.
Yeah, that's it.
I like that.
There's no choice.
You had this article out earlier this year called The 5 Bold Predictions for the Real Estate Game in 2024. I'm not even sure if you remember this, but you said, I'm going to quote you, 2024 is shaping up to be a real estate game changer. A high-stakes presidential election looms. Interest rates are finally falling. Home prices continue to rise. There's trillions in cash on the sidelines, and pent-up demand for property purchases is explosive. We stand at the intersection of opportunity and challenge, a position that demands careful consideration for those navigating the path of buying or selling property this year. As we face these pressures, the question remains, what happens next? And I'm curious, what has happened so far as we get close to finishing out 2024? Were the predictions that you had at the beginning of the year coming true? And we have no clue what's going to happen at the end of this year, but what do you think is going to happen in real estate in 2025?
Mm-hmm. I'd say the one prediction that I made that has not come true is I thought we would see more home absorption this year than we saw in 2023. I was pretty convinced, like most of the market.
More people buying up homes?
Correct.
Like investors?
So 2023, so just the United States, not globally. Mm-hmm. 2023 saw the fewest home sales in 30 years. Right, just about 4 million.
Is that because interest rates were so high?
Interest rates were too high.
Yeah.
Right. So 90% of people who have mortgages in the United States have them under 5%. Mm-hmm. So when rates went to 8%, no one was refining. No one would sell. I can't afford to sell. Buyers all said, "What am I supposed to do?" Mm-hmm. Okay, my monthly cost now just shot through the roof. It was so abrupt and so sudden, for good reason, I think, that the housing market just basically came to a standstill. And across the country, you had no inventory. We're short. I mean, what pundits will say is we're short about 4 million homes. I think we're actually short something like 6 million homes. Wow. And so what do? Right? And so I assumed that coming into 2024, what goes down must go up, what goes up must go down. So we can't have a worse year. Turns out, looks like 2024 is going to see even fewer home sales than last year, because it took the Fed 9 months to start adjusting rates instead of 3 to 6 months, right? A lot of people were calling for Fed cuts in Q1, and then it was Q2, then it came in September. But the market had already baked in the cuts, so mortgage rates haven't truly seen any like major effect, but they are at like 20-month lows right now, which is nice when you say it that way, but they're still at 10-year highs. So like, it is just a mindset shift. You know, we need mortgage rates to get down healthily into the 5s, which will enable people to buy down points into the 4s. If you can get a loan with a 4 handle in front of it, then the market will start being far more liquid and will move, because you got to give incentive to people who are in these damn homes to move. And you've got to give incentive to developers at these rates to create more housing inventory. Like it's just too expensive to build. And so all of that has kind of created this stagnation effect in 2024, where I think last year we had 4.1 million homes sold in the United States. This year will probably be sub 4.
Wow.
Which means that in 2025, could it get less? Sure. But I think there are so many economic indicators right now that are pointing towards even lower rates, right? Really? Greater economic stability, totally non-dependent on who wins the election. If you look, the last 9 of the 11 presidential elections we've had, the housing market has actually increased. Absorption has increased and pricing has increased 9 out of the last 11 times, which is like 1982. The only 2 times it hasn't, 2008, Lehman Brothers, and 2020, right? COVID. So it's been like these huge moments.
Yeah.
I think that what we'll see in 2025 is you're going to see rapid absorption of current stock. You're going to see greater listing inventory than we've seen in the last 3 years. You're going to see even more Gen Z purchasers purchasing with
Really?
baby boomer dollars.
Really?
Of all the Gen Z right now in the United States is outpacing millennials in home buying.
Wow.
But 70,
Why is that?
Because 75% of the deals that Gen Z is doing are financed by their parents. Because the greatest money-making generation we've ever seen are still the baby boomers. And they're also the greatest saving generation because they came out of parents from the Depression. Like my dad, his dad had polio.
Wow.
No one knows what polio is anymore, right? You have to Google it and it's in black and white.
Right.
So like that guy, you know, my dad would save, like he would do
Every
nothing
penny.
for $5.
Yeah.
You know, it is insane to me. He paid me a penny a stick growing up to pick up sticks. And I understand why. And I'm sure I will have those tendencies with my own daughter. You know, I'm like, hey, save up Wi-Fi bandwidth.
Yeah.
You know, what if the Wi-Fi goes down? And she's gonna be like, Dad, it's in my brain now.
Yeah, right,
There's no
right.
Wi-Fi anymore. It's just hi-fi. Like, damn it. Kids these days. That's gonna be me.
Wow. So parents are giving their kids money to buy
So
homes.
much money.
Why would they give them money to buy homes? Are they putting their names on it? They're just saying, hey, this is your
Because
money.
the alternative is you pay your kids rent or your kid lives with you. So you know what? I'm making an investment. You go pay the carrying costs is what most parents are doing. You cover the common charges, the HOA fees, the real estate taxes. It's gonna be my apartment. I'm gonna own it and we'll see what happens. And that's happening everywhere.
Really?
Everywhere.
But
Yes.
the parents are still owning it.
Correct.
They're not just saying, hey, just here's $1 million or $500,000, go buy a home and it's yours.
No, because it's gift transfer. It's gift tax.
Interesting.
So you got to go. So the parent, and you can go buy a house, you know, and your kid can use it. That's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
what it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fascinating, man. How's this impacted you guys in terms of selling homes?
Market, dude. I'm dressed like a baby boomer right now. I've got a brown jacket
great.
on. I've got like a
Really
tan
good.
shirt.
Yeah.
I've got closed-toe shoes.
Yeah, man.
I'm all about those baby boomers. Like, let's go find little Sally.
How's this impacted you guys in 2024? It seems like you guys are crushing it, though.
We
even
are.
though less homes are being sold or less, buildings are being sold
We're crushing it in part because we're expanding so quickly.
in other states.
Yeah, the two ways companies can grow. Okay, you grow through growth, right? Or you grow through cost cutting. So in 2022 and 23, especially in tech, you saw a lot of companies improving their numbers because they were just cutting the bottom line and they were firing everybody, reducing costs everywhere. Hey, no offices, no problem, no overhead. And then their numbers look great, right? You're just trying to improve margins or you expand fast. Like I crossed my entire 2023 revenue, I crossed in like June 5th or something this year because we're also just growing so quickly and all the work we did last year pays out this year, and in sales, it's not like e-commerce where,
You gotta
I'm
pay
2
right
quarters
away.
ahead.
Yeah.
But we're also, the work we put in right now, we're not going to see results from those salespeople doing deals and all that stuff happening until next year. So we're always like a year ahead. So what we're experiencing right now in our numbers and our sales is to the benefit of all the work that we actually did when we were hunkering down at this time last year. And this time last year was brutal. We were like, what are we going to do? Like rates are high. The market is really, really tough. People are being let go left and right. We have to go to war. We got to put our Braveheart face paint on, right? And they cannot take our freedom. It's just like we are going out to battle and we've got to operate with a startup mindset, no matter how big we are, every single day. And that's got to be a part of our purpose to the beginning of our convo.
Wow. What about people who want to invest in real estate? If they're thinking of investing in anything in 2025, should they put their money in real estate? Is it too expensive to buy right now or in 2025? Should they be saving their cash? Should they be investing more in themselves? Should they be investing in stocks? Where do you think people should invest in terms of real estate?
I'm super biased. I think real estate is one of the safer investments you can make as long as it's not short term. I don't like giving people short-term real estate advice unless it's fix and flip. There's tons of fix and flips you can do. There's a lot in Florida, Unfortunately, it is what it is. Like anytime there is natural disasters, you see investors come down, and what they're really doing is, are they taking advantage of a bad situation? 100%. Are they providing immediate liquidity for maybe a lot of people who didn't have home insurance? 100%. So you can look at it from both sides of the coin, right?
You don't do any fix and flip yourself as an investor, right?
It's because we're mostly in we're in luxury markets. And
do you do any investing in real estate yourself?
But we have real estate investments. I invest in companies mostly. So real estate adjacent companies, tech companies, consumer product companies.
But you don't
fun for me.
You don't own a lot of real estate that you're managing because you don't want to manage real estate.
Yeah, not really. You know what? Because it's all I do all day long. Like it's literally all I do. I feel like if I was doing something else, like most of my clients do, owning real estate ends up becoming fun.
Yeah.
For me, I buy and sell real estate for clients all day, every day. It's kind of the last thing I want to do.
Sure.
Is let's go do more real estate.
Right.
Personally.
Yeah.
That's where I get excited in education and media and the TV shows and people and different types of companies. Like I'm an investor in Blank Street Coffee. Why? Because it's a coffee company and that's awesome. And they have cool tech and they can open up stores faster than Starbucks. And it's like, that's crazy. Like we do weird things that way. That enable my brain to start. I feel like there's a part of my brain that gets to work at that. When I think about companies like that, you're like, oh, we're here. It's like the kid in the back of the room, who gets to raise his hand. He's like, oh, I know that one. It's important to light all the fires.
Do you work with a lot of successful real estate investors who are like buying up either just single family homes or apartment buildings or commercial real estate?
Yeah.
What are they talking about? What are they telling you about what they're looking for to invest in that you're selling them?
I mean, for the last 2 years, it's just been about blood in the water, right? It's using interest rate pressure on existing portfolios to help bail people out and get market rate discounts. So, you can get, buy things at 20, 30, 40, 50% off because somebody's got has a 3% note that is ballooning to 7.5% by November 1st. And that's where you see a lot of resets. We do a lot of office to residential conversion right now, especially in a lot of our urban markets. Yeah.
It's like a whole building, office building, converting
Correct.
into apartments.
Yeah, being sold. Something that used to have a markup of, let's say, $700 million sells today for $100 million because the basis on residential is short term, right? Especially if you're going to create condos out of it. It's one time, and then the condo developer has to pay income tax. That's how the government looks at it. So there's a lot of unique opportunities out there, but there's always opportunities.
Yeah.
Everything's a potential opportunity. It just depends on where you want to be, what your capital requirements are, what your debt structure is going to be like. There's a lot of people buying up real estate at what I think are terrible multiples right now with awful cap rates, but they have a much, much, much longer term view and they want to own market share. And so that's interesting to me, to go out and you can actually overbid against institutional players who are trying to underbid because they have certain hurdles they have to hit. And you can now just go grab that market share and you get to say you have 1,000 units in 2030. And at the rate at which rents are increasing, at the rate at which even inflation at 3% is increasing, by 2030, you'll be good as long as you can protect cash flows. And that's where people get hurt.
Speaking of 2030, there's supposed to be this whole 2030 agenda where people will own nothing and be happy. I don't know if you've seen
Oh my God, I have a billionaire right now. That's so funny.
Have you seen this? The 2030 agenda where it's like, you'll own nothing, you'll be happy.
Yeah. Everyone wants to be like Elon Musk. That's all. But I do have a billionaire right now who's like, I want to own less things. I'm like, great. How can I help you?
Let me sell that for you.
Yeah, just so my house is in, where are they? Montana, Texas, New York, and Florida. I just want to sell everything. Like, should you consult your wife before? Are you currently drinking? Are you currently under the influence of anything? No, we just decided to sell. So we put everything on the market.
Really?
Yeah, it's like $270 million worth of personal property and just houses and pied-à-terres and things. You're like, yeah, I don't care anymore. Let's just sell it all. Okay, great. And we will. And we'll sell it. I think.
Why do you think that is for that billionaire?
I think it's a phase.
Really?
I think it's a phase.
How old? What's the age range of this person?
He's 60s.
Yeah.
He's 60s.
But it's also a lot of stress to manage all those things.
Yeah, he can afford it.
Like, why have all these properties if you're not in them ever?
Yeah.
If you use
You
them,
say cool hotels.
Yeah.
But here's what's going to happen. Everyone's going to go through that phase. And in a couple of years, everyone's going to say, I want to just keep my clothes in one spot. So at the same time, I have that guy selling off just under $300 million worth of personal property because he wants to own no things. I then have another billionaire who is, I don't know where he's based. I think Puerto Rico via Florida, who's now saying, I no longer want to have a hotel room in LA and in New York City. So just give me the two best properties, all in plus closing costs. I don't want to spend more than $18 million. So just go figure that out for me. And so we're doing that right now, like today, actually.
Wow. What
This podcast has covered a lot, by the way.
It's great. Yeah. What about you work with a lot of billionaires because you have a massive luxury real estate industry that you're in. What would you say are the common themes of the billionaires you work with on how they think differently than normal people without $1 billion?
I'd say there's two types of billionaires. There's earned wealth, and then there's inherited, and there's inherited wealth. Okay, inherited wealth is far more afraid of it than the earned.
Losing it or afraid of having it?
Both. Every trust fund kid I've worked with, anyone who's stepped into a significant amount of money, they know inherently that it's not theirs and that they didn't earn it. And there's there's a fear of the money. It's wild. You would think that someone who's broke, poor, like myself in 2008, can't afford groceries. I was also scared of money, but I knew if I had it, I would not be scared. I would use it and I would figure it out, and it's going to be a tool. There's no one's crying tears for billionaires, but there is that inherited wealth kind of dilemma, which is then, that's the Malcolm McDowell bell curve. The person who earns it takes the family up. The person who inherits it takes the family down every time. The earned billionaires and billionaire class, okay, their number one asset isn't their money, it's their time. Down to, we negotiate 9-figure deals just by text or by Signal. A lot of them use Signal.
Really?
Yeah, that app Signal.
Just texting.
Just texting. They don't have time.
You want this? Here's a photo.
Yeah, they can also be screenshotted. So you got to be careful. It's all in writing. It's all there, right? But they don't have time.
Yeah.
They'll get on a phone to do a gut check, but for the most part, this is the price. It's just a fact.
Because they'll probably spend their time researching who they trust the most.
Correct.
Who's going to get the best deal for them.
And they're the best analysts.
And once they make the decision, okay, you're my guy. I trust you. Find me 3 options.
Yeah.
I'll choose the final one.
Exactly. They also do other things like, I've talked about this before, but the majority of the billionaires I know, when we go to dinner, let's say, you don't go to bad restaurants, you don't go to good ones. And what's the point of looking at a menu at a good or great restaurant? Tell the waiter, if you have any allergies, tell us to bring your best. Surprise me.
Yeah.
It's a far better use of my time for the hour and a half we have here at dinner for you and I to talk than for me to sit here and say, what's the halibut like? It tastes like f***ing halibut, man. What's the question? What is that? It's a waste of their energy.
Yeah.
So now I've been in the situation where I'll pick up the menu and looking at it and I'll just see them looking at me and I'm like,
oh, okay. Yeah, whatever he's having. Yeah.
Hey, yeah, exactly. You just bring me whatever. Is the duck alive? No, it's not alive. Okay, great. Perfect.
Yeah.
Where are we eating right now? That's good.
How do so they think about their time.
Yeah.
What other habits do billionaires have that have helped you level up your life and your business just by being around them?
They think about things at 100x. It's not 10x anymore. It's not 2x. It's not 3x. It's 100x. How is everybody your partner? What's that collaboration? What can I build to scale 100 times? And that's had a huge influence. One, how I manage my time, right? But also that's had a huge influence on me building a business, right? Was, okay, how do I build a business that I can scale to 100, right? Whatever that means. Why go small? Why take a small swing? Why not just take a big swing?
Yeah.
My life was fine as a real estate agent. I'm going to start my own company. I'll start 4. And then I did all these TV shows. Let's do a bigger one. And let's get to a valuation as an enterprise where we really swing for that $10 billion multiple. Why not? Why not? And I don't know how I'm going to do it right now, but I'm getting there and we will figure it out because I will be as consistent as possible until you buy or die.
Wow.
It's just, you won't let go. And that is they are relentless, you know, in their capacity and their consistency, and their risk taking. They're far bigger risk takers than I am. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Like, it's scary to risk money.
It's a lot, man.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's, you know, life is a gamble. So what's money?
Yeah. You talk about, I got a couple of final questions for you before I get you out of here, but you've talked about, you said you work for your future self, your 70-year-old self. You're working for him.
Yeah.
When you mentioned that, that's something I think about a lot is my future self. What would my future self want the decisions I'm making today to be for him?
Yep.
You know, what am I doing that's going to make him proud? Just kind of like you said, it's something I think about a lot of. What is the advice your 7-year-old self needs to give you right now in your life that will really make him happy? Something that you're not doing yet. Because you're doing the hard work. You're getting up at 4 a.m. You're grinding. You're in great shape. You got a six-pack. You're eating the right things. You're building the business. You're taking risks. You know, you're there for your family. But what does your 7-year-old self really need to tell you that you need to listen to today?
I think it's a couple things. It was the thing I woke up with on my 40th birthday, which was, you're no longer waking up to be important anymore. You're now waking up to be happy. And what does that mean? Maybe it means to be important. Maybe it doesn't. But you have to ask yourself that question every day. 2, I think my 70-year-old self is telling me to remember, right? You're never going to remember your tasks. You will only remember your adventures. And as much time as I spend on email and in meetings
And TikTok.
and in commuting, like, I'm never going to sit there when I'm 70 and remember that email. Like, it's just, no matter how much importance there is today, it will mean nothing to me in 30 years. But I will remember the adventures, right? I will remember the stories. And I think the third thing he would say is, there is nothing without being present. Like, there is just that opportunity to be present, especially, you know, as Zena, my daughter's like 5, and, you know, I spend all my time at work. And how do you balance that? You know, you have family, you have obligations, you have responsibility. Where do you find the synergy? Where do you make a difference? And where can you be as present as possible? And just look other humans in the eye and make sure, and I kind of like this, make sure that I don't spend my entire life just being a human doing, but being a human being.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. How can we support you right now? You've got so much going on, your business, the Netflix show, you've got books, you've got a course, all these different things, but how can we support you? What can people do to be of service for you?
Oh, you know, just be my friend. If you see me on the street, say hi. I mean, we do a lot. If you're looking to buy, rent, sell, or develop real estate, you can find us at serhant.com. If you want some fun entertainment, you can go watch the first season of Owning Manhattan, which is now on Netflix. You can follow us on any of our socials, Ryan Serhant or Serhant. If you're in real estate or in sales or part of an enterprise sales team, you can go to sellit.com. I think it's the best next-gen sales training for salespeople and sales teams. And other than that, man, just live a life worth living.
That's good, man. Yeah. 2 final questions. I think I asked you this before, but I'm curious. You gave advice from your 7-year-old self to your current self just now. But if you could go to, hypothetically, the last day, you get to live as long as you want, but then it's the last day on earth.
Yeah.
However old that is for you.
Yeah.
And you've accomplished all your dreams. You've accomplished everything. You take the risks, the shots, it all works out. You see your family grow. Everything you want to do, it happens. But on the final day, you have to take everything you've ever created with you. So all the content, this interview, your TV shows, the books, the programs, like, it's all gone, or it goes with you or it's gone.
Yep.
And no one has access to the content you've created in your existence here. And you've made a lot of content, right? But on the last day, you get to leave behind 3 lessons. And this is all we would have to remember Ryan by. What would be those 3 lessons? I call it 3 truths. What would be that for you?
Well, number 1 is take care of the work takes care of you. Number 2 is you are the people you keep. Like, spend a lot of your time with other people. Make sure you're with the people you want to be like.
Yeah.
Right. And then number 3 would just have to be like living a life that's actually fucking fun, right? Just be fun.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just not worth it.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. I want to acknowledge you, Ryan. I've got one final question, but I want to acknowledge you for the journey you've been on. It's been fun to watch your journey from the sidelines, and we're connected.
Only just beginning.
I know it's only just beginning, but it's been fun to see you reflect on it also with all the big successes you've had, the failures, the struggles, the opportunities, everything. It's fun to see you reflect on it right now. And I'm excited to see, the next 5 to 10 years where you're going to be at and the impact you're making. And I think what you do is you show up with a lot of joy, a lot of passion, and you want to serve people. Obviously, you want to make sales and you're constantly selling it, but you want to serve people as well. And not a lot of people can bring that passion and joy to what they do every single day. And I know you're not perfect, but you bring a lot of energy. And I think the world needs positive energy in whatever industry people are in. And it's something that could get tiring for people, like selling real estate could be boring after a while. You bring a level of excitement and joy and passion that most people aren't willing to do. So I acknowledge you for that. And I acknowledge you for being reflective. I know it's not easy to reflect on these things, but I think it's important for people to see the human side of you beyond just the success side of you. And I hope that you know that you are important, whether you sell $1 billion of real estate or not, because you have a beautiful family, you've got a daughter that cares about you, and you're making a difference in their lives. So I hope you know whether you're successful beyond where you're at now or not, you are important. And I hope you feel loved and happy in the journey, no matter what the results are, because you deserve it.
I don't know what just happened, but thank you. It's very nice.
You're welcome, man.
Thanks.
My final question is, what's your definition of greatness?
My definition of greatness is not self-reflective. I would ask, everybody else, like I only think I'm great if everybody else kind of affirms the greatness. Right. So I think it would have to be attached to the public affirmation, because I don't think anyone's great in a bubble or a vacuum. I think great is a definition that's attached to a lot of other really good things and okay things and bad things and terrible things. And so I look at greatness through the eyes of every single person I've ever interacted with or come in touch with or ever followed or subscribed to me. And that's a weird answer, but I'm going to leave it at that.
There you go. My man, Ryan. Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks.
When I identify parts of myself that I want to quote unquote change, instead of trying to change, can I just accept? And what's really interesting is when you accept, it makes it way easier to love yourself, which when I said our biggest fear is I'm not good enough. And if I'm not good enough, I won't be loved.